As much fun as it is drawing people, there are plenty of other objects that'll be animated in your projects, from tables and chairs to monsters, clouds, puppies. And many of these objects are pretty dull by nature, but with the right push can come to life in memorable ways. Most of that life and personality is found in how the objects move, since its face may or may not be very expressive, or even, exist in the first place. So, a wonderful set of exercises have been devised from our friends at Animator Island with a classic of animation education, the flour sack. Squishy, malleable, flexible, and fun, the old sackaroo has all the body in the world to do any task your creativity can creativate with none of the frills, style choices, or complex facial expressions found in more fleshed-out characters. Check out the rest of the article below, and hold on to your tassels, because we're about to get dusty. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another wonderful episode here at the Crow's Nest. And today we are going to take a step back. Today we get to play around with a flour sack, and it brings us back on the fundamentals a little bit. I did some reading as opposed to usual when I just blindly run into something and hope for the best and end up doing a terrible job and then being really insecure about myself. But this time I did a little bit of research, so now when I feel insecure about myself, it will be slightly less justified. So what we are going to do is make our flour sack wave, which means that we're going to want to have this really nice back and forth motion. So normally you would have a character and let's say they were happy, you would know that they're happy because they're smiling, or perhaps they say something that implies that they're happy. But with a sack, or a chair, or a table, or some such, you don't have this opportunity to hide behind the facial expressions in order to give personality to your objects. You have to make it all in their motions, and that's what we're focusing here, is body language. So now the question becomes, how do we want to do this wave? So we're definitely going to want to start off with a large sweeping motion of the hand, or well, I guess that's the tassel, but that's going to be swooping over to one side, and then that same tassel is going to swoop over to the other side, and then we're just going to have a back and forth, back and forth. That's going to be the actual motion of the hand, but we can, in a little bit of anticipation, and follow through with that. So what I can do is make this the first keyframe instead of this one, and I can begin with the neutral sack, then have him leaning out, so the tassel here swoops up, and then swoops over. And we can tell that the body also leans over to the left, and the body is swinging with the arm. Then I want to have a follow through, and when you're doing this really big wave back and forth, your hand actually does sort of a figure eight, and as the figure eight drops, that is the follow through. And as your hand reaches the apex, it then follows through here by dropping a bit before swooping up and going this way. And so with our tassel, I want to have that same thing. So I guess that would be drawn as the follow through coming around like that, which then brings us wonderfully down, up, and over. And while that's happening, yes, of course, the body does continue to follow this direction. However, the body doesn't do this same S-swerp. Actually, the body here has an ease out as it slows down, and then begins its ease in this way, back towards the original. And then, of course, we repeat that a couple of times. Now the last thing, of course, is to decide how I want this to end. So we have a neutral position, body leans in as the arm swoops up, body and the arm swoop over to the other side, body stops moving while the waving arm and hand has their follow through, body begins to move over to the other side as the hand sweeps around, and the arm sweeps around to get to the other side, and then of course that process is just repeated as many times as I want. So then, what would be a cute ending for that? I'm going to stand up actually for a second and do this a couple of times in the mirror to see what I like. So a vibe that I got from doing that is that this wave is much less of a hi, hello, and is instead more of an over here type of emotion. You actually move your whole body when you want to be getting somebody's attention, like over a long distance. So we can add a cute little celebration when somebody finally notices our little friend here. Our flour sack will stop and be noticed, and then reach up its little arms in victory. And that's a really cute pose to end on. Hey, how's it going, guys? Type of a thing. Now, here's the fun part. This motion also requires a little bit of build-up as well. This one is just us stopping. We're going to need a little bit of build-up to get here, We'll build anticipation. We'll have the body move down, and the arms will swoop down. Oh, I guess the tassels really will swoop down. And then we'll swoop up to our success story. Body will go up too. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, because of stretch, body will get thinner as we stretch up in victory, with a little bit of a bounce of a settling back down. So that gives us a wonderful bout of stuff to play around with here. This will be our first time making an animation that has 2 designated actions instead of just 1, which is nice because the simplicity of this design, or at least the intended simplicity of this design, will help that not take as long as it otherwise has before. And we get to do our favorite part, which is adding personality to things, because what's the point of doing this if you aren't enjoying yourself? Whew! Got a lot of work ahead of us, but I like this. I like this a lot. It's also worth noting that these themselves are our keyframes and our breakdowns. So let's highlight keyframes in red and breakdowns in blue. Keyframe, key, breakdown, key, breakdown, key. And technically this is a keyframe, but I'm calling it a breakdown because the motion is settling in and is technically in between what would otherwise be motions. I think it's tomato personally, but I feel like the blues are a little underrepresented here. So I'm gonna show them a little bit of love there. Let's get this party started. Now I'll be honest, I have absolutely zero experience drawing this flower sack. Yeah, okay, that's pretty decent. So normally when making my second keyframe, I would make an onion skin of this and try to like copy it and follow and make sure I've got my measurements right. This time I'm going to try things differently. Each of my frames I'm just going to draw completely independently based off of how it looks in my head, and then I'll do all of the resizing and shaping and cleanup afterwards. Because then I'll be looking at each frame as its own separate drawing, as opposed to having each one compensate for the one before. Oh, ugh, that was not what I was going for at all. So I've heard that when you make every frame its own unique drawing, your animation flows better because you're taking into account form and posture and pose independently of each drawing, as opposed to being conscious of each one, which creates this like, oh hey look, I'm really self-conscious about this. It's like stage fright, you know, you're not thinking about it versus when you are thinking about it. Assuming that I managed to splice that rant together in a cohesive way in post-production, that's why I'm going to try out a different technique on this exercise. And I think I'm going to bring up the leg, question mark? So that way it looks like we've got a cute little lean going over here. Oh, this lean comes with the arm going out. This arm actually pulls the rest of the body with it. So I need one frame where the arm is making its way out, and then the next frame is the leg following it. Great. Now I need to take this frame, put it there, and in between those I need one where the arm's going out, but the feet stay on the ground. Yeah, there we go. Alright, and next up is... first wave over. Action line! So also we had the feet where the stage right foot was down and the stage left one was up, but as we have the action line come over and bring us to this side, this foot actually goes up and this one comes down. How do I want to have this leg come up? Well, technically, if we follow the math of this flour sack, and here is where we would want the leg to come off of. However, I want to add a little bit of stretch with this motion. So I'm actually going to have the leg, instead of starting here, probably have start a little bit down closer to here. Now the tassels, because I haven't actually begun the breakdown that brings the tassels down this way, at this stage in the game, if we were applying real-world physics, they would be over here and here. However, since I actually want them to be a part of the quote-unquote arms, I'm going to have them be going out at this stage. At least this one should be. What about the bottom one? Oh, it just drops straight down. Great. Alright, now I need my breakdown. So here's the arm, and here's the arm. It looks as though it comes over slightly, and goes down slightly in this arc. But it doesn't swoop all the way around as much as it swoops across, stops at this point, and then immediately shoots over to the other direction. Oh, no wonder this feels weird. This is the left hand that's going up and waving. Like he's doing, I don't know, toe touches. Now this whole thing just feels weird. Why does this feel weird? You know what it is? I've got the curve in the arm here, making this point with the corner of the sack, when really what I need is to have the curve here in the body and have the arm be a bit more rounded. Oh, Jesus. Oh, and then it loops a second. Oh, what happens if I just do this a majillion? Oh. Aw, it's nifty. Oh, I can't go back any further. Alright, guess we are starting from the top. So what I'm pondering here is that it feels like as this arm makes its way down, then the top here does this curve like that. I just can't get this underline to do what I want it to. But I am going to take this line. This torso just doesn't feel right. Because if I do this, that's an eye. That's not even close to a sack. You know why? I have a round, then a round, then a round. While over here, I just have a flat line. Now let's see what happens if I do a little bit of copy pasting.
Nope, that jump doesn't make any sense. This step to here, with this leg coming up, places really nicely right here. Then this leg, I'm gonna have to figure out why it is that this doesn't translate. I'll have to come back to that in a little bit.
Now, since this episode was already looking to be almost 30 minutes, I decided to split it up. Partially so I could take a bit of a rest. I've been working my patootie off to catch up on work days since my all-night birthday party, and I need a mental day. Now, this won't have any effect on my release schedule, just spares me a recording day to get some R&R.
So thanks again, everyone, especially you future people, and of course, thanks to Animator Island for their insight into our newest little friend.